The devil try to hit me with the Rgo, them black people. Devil want these niggas hate their own kind. Gotta be the Illuminati if a nigga shine. Oh, it can't be a nigga if a nigga rich. Oh, it gotta be the devil, that's a nigga shit. You seen what I did to the stop and frisk. Brooklyn on the bunnies like we on the bitch. Get the money to the hood, now we all win. Got that bunny floor looking like a PIM. Black hoodie, black scully. Bravado like my vital one, that gully. Getting white money, but I'm still black. All these niggas claiming king, but I'm still black. King over, Mansa, Musa. From a lot of devil was a lie, I'm a truth. Big guns, big whips. Rich nigga talking big shit. Double cup, gold wrist. Double up on the flow, bitch. 2 mil on that I-95. Bow your head cause it's time to pay time. Opposition want me dead or alive. Motherfucker, but the devil is alive. The devil is alive. Bitch, I'm the truth. The devil is alive. Bitch, I'm the proof. The devil is alive. The devil is alive. Bitch, I'm alive. The devil is alive. The hood, but I got it on my back. Ex got it, yeah, I got it on my back. To the track by the town when I got him by the back. They say, oh, chop on the ground, now I'm back, yeah. X no, nigga, I got it on my back. X no, X your hoe, nigga, I got it on my back. X your hoe, who wanna load, nigga, I got them in the back. We sell them whole and you can't return them back. Damn, bald head, pock shit. But my main thing like to eat with chopsticks. I can whip a dream with a fork, nigga. Yeah, play that Pyrex like a sport, nigga. The highway hot, nigga, no shade. Pick up 100 packs, split it 2 ways. Damn, that 50 here and 50 there. Get it in the attic, money in the air. That soda in that Yola caught a fade, bitch. Clean it up with the same car we play spades with. The streets ain't a game, you can't renege. Grown man shit, you can't play kids. You ever been to hell? Been up in that cell? Too cold to finish, better not tell. Water in the vision bowl, yeah, you know the smell. Breaking out the wake set, yeah, you know the scale. Even got a stamps on it, yeah, you know the braille. Players put the dogs on it, smell it like it's quail. Blowing money fast, yeah, I let it tell the tale. They say that I'm irrelevant, it ain't no way in hell. I left the hood, but I got it on my back. On my back, X got it, yeah, I got it on my back. To the track by the town when I got him by the back. They say, oh, chop on the ground, now I'm back, yeah. X no, nigga, I got it on my back. X no, X your hoe, nigga, I got it on my back. X your hoe, who wanna load, nigga, I got them in the back. We sell them whole and you can't return them back. Money standing tall, nigga. Yeah, I mean, buy tickets off a whole load of greens. Yeah, and I ain't talking soul food. I just put a $250,000 in a old school. Niggas talking brick talk to me, that's old news. Niggas bragging on their plug when they old, dude. I don't got a tab. Nigga, I'm in the lab. I want 24 a head, 44 a slab. And a 10 for a quarter if you can do the math. Your bitch deep throat, I call her Lil Sherelle. And I'ma plug first pick if they had a draft. I put bricks in the Uber, used to be a cab. Long story short and a short story long. I'ma get money, try to bring them to their home. Ain't figure nigga, boy, I came up selling zones. 2020 road truck, I sit it on chrome. Bitch on Chanel, she gon' hold us back. He think I'm a pussy, he gon' be on crack. Shawty like that road truck, I got him back to back. They try to say I live the hood when I got it on my back. X no, nigga, I got it on my back. X no, X your hoe, nigga, I got it on my back. X your hoe, who wanna load, nigga, I got them in the back. We sell them whole and you can't return them back. They say I left the hood, but I got it on my back. On my back, X got it, yeah, I got it on my back. To the track by the town when I got him by the back. They say, oh, chop on the ground, now I'm back, yeah. X no, nigga, I got it on my back. X no, X got it, yeah, I got it on my back. Who wanna load, nigga, I got him in the back. X got it, yeah, I got it on my back. They say I left the hood, but I got it on my back. On my back. They say, oh, chop on the ground, now I'm back. Are you here looking for love? Got the club going crazy. All these bitches, but my eyes on you. Is you somebody, baby? If you ain't, girl, what we gon' do? If you ain't gon' need it, baby. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Give it all up for you right now. We got the club going crazy. All eyes on you. She was the best, I was the realest. We was the flight, up in the belly. We was counting this money, loving the feeling. Look at you now, in love with a hitter. But now it's all eyes on me, and it all eyes on me. To say something to your pretty ass, some hood shit, what you looking at, cause I'm good for that. Breaking bags, I'm good for that. Might just be your blood for that. You might fall in love with that, got love for that. What's your name, who you with, where you from, you the shit. Choose and pick, get the right one. All these chicks got the like one. All these hits, you got the like one. All these bottles got the like up. All these models got the right one. What you gonna do? Hot front, you ready? Is you drunk? Is you had enough? Are you here looking for love? Got the club going crazy. All these bitches, but my eyes on you. Is you somebody, baby? If you ain't, girl, what we gon' do? If you ain't gon' need it, baby. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Give it all up for you right now. We got the club going crazy. All eyes on you.
He was the realest, I was the baddest, we was the illest. When he approached me, I said yo with the dealers, in and out them dealers, rockin' chinchillas. I got him in the back of that back, I think he catching feelings. Now it's all eyes on us, and it's all eyes on trust. And if them bitches wanna trip, tell them they tour guys on us. Big kitty cat on reclusive, he ducked up in them goosies. I put him on in that new, now he only fuck with a scoozy. He was like, my name Nick, New York in this bitch. You got the right one, all the hoes ain't nothing like them. Nigga, you know you never wipe them. None of them niggas ain't never hit this. Still at the top of all they hit list. What they gon' do? Meek and Nick.
Chicago. He was mainly raised by his mom after his pops was murdered when he was 12 years old. So growing up, Max quickly adapted to his environment. Max is from No Limit, a set of renegade Black Beat songs, who merged with the Muskegon Boys, the Renegades headed the GDs, and formed NLMB. He also had multiple brothers, uncles, and cousins who was well-respected members of NLMB. Some say he was related to two well-known No Limit members named Mally and G Manksky, but it's unconfirmed if they was actually blood brothers or just grew up together. Either way, they all came up together with G Herbo and Lil Bibby, who were the two most famous rappers in the game.
We was the flight, up in the belly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Stop that. I got so many feelings I can't never go to counter. Double Drake said he gon' put some screens, so let me check my calendar. I just popped me one of them what you callers and it boosted my stamina. Now I'm fucking her on the banister. Guess I just East Atlanta. Oh man, I already dropped tarantula. Fuck a challenge. These hoes ain't got no manners, bruh. What's the manners? She throwing rubber bandits up. Ho, pull your panties up, cause you fuck like a granny. Fuck, you're just an amateur. See, Philippe gon' make this cricket just try throw the brick at me. I look like $500,000 worth of heroin when she look at me. But you ain't gotta fuck with me, my nigga. But you stuck with me. But how you call the cops on me, my nigga? You grew up with me. I don't usually do this unless I'm drunk, I'm high. But I'm both right now. Got me talking about my life. I don't usually do this unless I'm drunk, I'm high. But I'm both right now. I don't usually do this unless I'm drunk or I'm high, but I'm both right now and I need you in my life. I don't usually do this unless I'm drunk or I'm high, but I'm both right now.
also a large gang with more structure than some of the other sets in Chicago. They seem to have more OGs around and guide the younger generation, which has helped the gang survive, even though they have so many enemies. The main sets that No Limit beefs with that's relevant to this story are Lakeside, KTS, and Black Mob. Black Mob are mainly Black P Stones, and Lakeside are mainly GDs, but they're both allied and beef with NLMB. KTS is an alliance between a bunch of different sets, including members of Lakeside and Black Mob, with well-known members like KTS Dre and Bond. Mad Max is one of NLMB's most active members, and also one of KTS's most hated ops. He was put on by his uncles and other older dudes in his hood on how to move in the street.
I don't usually do this unless I'm drunk or I'm high, but I'm both right now. I don't usually do this unless I'm drunk or I'm high, but I'm both right now, and I need you in my life. I don't usually do this unless I'm drunk or I'm high, but I'm both right now. From the heart, Boosie Bad. I cried, I sip on the pain. Sometimes I smile, I keep from crying, They don't know where we go. You might think I'm happy all the time, cause you see smiles on my face, and my followers over 500K. But I've been going through some problems, been going through hoping for better, like Big Mama would say. But haters come for me, magazines, they running they lies about the things that I say. It's hard to keep a peace and smile even with bitches I date. Why do you hate and come for me? You want my problems, hope. He raised
But like many kids who was respected in Chicago that ain't have another hustle like rap, Max eventually got out of control, and it led to his own death. At the time Max was coming up, No Limit was locked in a heated war with Black Mob. Early on, the two gangs was cool with each other, but a dispute over territory eventually led them to beefing. In 2009, a dude from No Limit named Vito was trapping in Black Mob's territory without checking in or paying tax. So, a member of Black Mob violated Vito for not showing the proper respect, which was a major violation of their laws. At some point during this beef, a member of Black Mob in Lakeside named Dio was murdered while walking down the sidewalk. Max was locked up for an alleged shooting, but there ain't much info because he was still a minor at the time. Not long after that, he was back on the streets and looking for revenge. Over the next few years, Max lost several of his OGs from No Limit, including his blood uncle. In November 2011, white folks, one of the leaders of No Limit, passed away. He died after being shot by members from Lakeside and 2,000 members that left 2 dead and several others injured. They was all standing on the corner outside of a liquor store on the 2500 block of East 79th Street when someone drove by and started busting shots with a Tech 9. 5 members of the group got hit and 2 ended up dying. NLMB Rock and Alamo sadly lost their lives, and 3 other members sustained serious injuries but survived. Rock was a beloved member of the gang who adopted the name Rock Block after he was killed. Alamo was actually an older member who was 57 and had 4 kids. Rock was no longer active in the streets and had just come down from dinner to chop it up with some of the younger dudes. It ain't clear who killed Rock and Alamo, but it was rumored to have been committed by members of KTS. Mad Max and Rock was close homies, and his death really hit hard. So, after he was killed, Max vowed to get revenge on KTS. A few months later, in October 2012, 33-year-old Carlos Alexander, aka No Limit Big Los, was murdered in the 7900 block of South Escabana Avenue. He was walking outside of his crib around 10:30 a.m. when 2 dudes ran up and opened fire before fleeing on foot. Big Los wasn't just one of Max's OGs, but also his blood uncle, when he was approached by 3 or 4 men and shot several times. He was rushed to Northwestern Memorial Hospital, but no one was arrested for Bud's murder. But it was rumored to have been committed by members of NLMB, including Mad Max, who was out looking for ops after the murder of Rock and Alamo. Plus, it's been rumored that Bud was present for the murder of Big Los, Max's uncle. But Max ain't stopped there. He kept seeking revenge for all the people close to him that he lost. On April 4th, 2013, a Lakeside member named D'Angelo Simmons, aka Lolo, was walking down the street with another man not far from his home. According to friends and family, Lolo was out shopping for a family trip and was walking home when he got shot. The car that fired at members of NLMB the day Rock and Alamo were killed. No one was ever arrested for Lolo's murder, but according to rumors, it was Mad Max who shot Lolo while Mac Main ran away. G Herbo was supposedly with him when it happened and chased after Mac Main, shooting him in the leg. But this is an unconfirmed rumor because McMahon never went to the hospital and was never identified by police as the person with Lolo when he was killed. Both Bud and Lolo was respected members of Lakeside. Members of No Limit often use their deaths to mock their enemies, talking about smoking on Bud and Lolo in songs and on social media. This only turns up the war between Lakeside and NLMB. But the summer of 2013 was also a wild time in the war between No Limit and Black Mob. Around that time, No Limit lost two members, Simo and Tracy, but they was quick to get their revenge. In June 2013, 24-year-old Jordan Jefferson, a member of Black Mob, was shot in the head in the 2400 block of East 75th Street. He was pronounced dead on the scene by the Cook County Medical Examiner. A pastor at a local church, Reverend Isaac Whitman, said that Jordan was helping him earlier that day, carrying supplies into his office. He attended service afterward, but said that he wasn't certain about Jordan in the church. Jefferson and Whitman's son then walked to a corner store. The pastor heard 3 shots, then looked up and saw Jordan laying on the ground. Allegedly, it was Mad Max and a group of other dudes from NLMB who saw Jordan and ran up on him, shooting him 3 times. So, Max was just racking up bodies, and that was allegedly his 3rd murder in less than a year. On August 10, 2013, NLMB took a major L after losing a respected member named Kobe. Jacoby Heron, aka Kobe, was shot and killed outside of a McDonald's in the 2400 block of South Oglesby Avenue. Kobe was close to G Herbo, who talks about him in interviews and even named a mixtape after him called Ballin' Like I'm Kobe. Just before he was killed, Kobe was chilling with Herb and some other NLMB members on the block shooting dice, but suddenly decided he wanted to go home. They offered him a ride, but he said he'd rather walk. But just a few minutes after he left, they heard gunshots and ran down the block to find Kobe dead on the street. No one was ever arrested for the murder, but it's rumored it was KTS Vaughn and another dude named Pasto. Kobe was a well-loved member of NLMB, so his death was a major loss to the gang and only increased attention. After that, they was on the hunt for Vaughn and Pasto. But before they can get to him, Max allegedly took out a member of Black Mob for the 2nd time that same year. Around 10 a.m. on August 13, 2013, a 34-year-old man named Eric Chisholm was killed by a shooter in a passing SUV on the 7400 block of South Colfax Avenue. Chisholm was standing with at least one other person when a light-colored SUV drove by and let off shots. He was rushed to Northwestern Memorial Hospital, where he was later pronounced dead. Cops later identified Eric as a known gang member from Black Mob, but according to one witness who knew him from the neighborhood, Eric wasn't an active member and just had a baby. So, it's not clear whether or not he was affiliated or just an innocent bystander. No one was arrested for Eric's murder, but it's rumored that Mad Max may have been involved. NLMB was still out for revenge over the death of Kobe. By the end of the year, they got what they was after by taking out one of his alleged killers, Pasto. On November 23rd, 2013, Tyshawn Pasto Anderson was shot in the head in the 2700 block of East 80th Street, just around the corner from where he lived. Pasto was standing in the hallway when someone started shooting. He was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, but pronounced dead around 11:50 p.m. Police said Pasto was a documented gang member. A family member said he was a typical teenager who liked playing video games and messing around with electronics. He was struggling in school and was looking into alternative education programs. But they admitted he had problems with gangs at school in the past and just got out of jail 5 days before he died. No one was ever arrested for Pasto's murder, but it's rumored that it was Crazy James and Mad Max from NLMB who was out for revenge after the death of Kobe. Pasto was a well-loved member of KTS. After that, members of No Limit would diss Pasto and Rapson on social media to get at their ops, which added even more fuel to the beef. Over the next year, Mad Max got arrested several times, which slowed down his activities in the streets. On July 21st, he was arrested for reckless conduct. Then, on October 17th, he got arrested for not wearing a seatbelt and driving without a license. He'd quickly be released for that crime, only to get arrested for disorderly conduct a week later. So Max was caught up most of that year and wasn't as active in the streets. On June 23rd, 2015, KTS Vaughn, one of NLMB's main ops, was shot and killed. No one knows exactly who killed him, but there's multiple theories. Vaughn was walking by himself in the 7500 block of South Ellis Avenue when passengers in an SUV spotted him and hopped out and shot him multiple times in the body, then in the head. According to rumors, he was high off Xanax at the time of his death and wasn't aware of his surroundings. The 21-year-old was pronounced dead at the scene when police arrived. Vaughn was one of KTS's most active members and had enemies in several rival gangs. No one really knows who got Vaughn lacking that night, but one theory is that it was members of NLMB, including Mad Max. KTS Vaughn often referred to himself as Big Cutthroat the Smoker. Right after Vaughn was killed, Mad Max started calling himself the Smoker on IG, which made many believe he was taking credit for the hit. But this might have been just another way to get at his ops. In 2016, Mad Max started going through more legal problems and got arrested multiple times for things like weapons possession. But all that changed the following year, and by 2017, Max was back at it. On July 10, 2017, Black Mob lost one of his top shooters and most famous rappers, Shooter Shells. About 3 months before his death, Shooter Shells dropped a savage diss track called Death of 150, where he took shots at several dead members from No Limit.
Motion at your Ring video doorbell.
Motion detected
And
at the front
Fazo,
yard.
who G Herbo's rapped about many times in his own music. On top of that, Shooter Shells was also a shooter and claimed to have several bodies at the time of his death. So, after he dropped Death of 150, he became No Limit's main target. Shooter Shells was walking to his car in the Auburn Gresham neighborhood when 3 men ran up and shot him multiple times in the head and body. According to police, he was shot approximately 15 to 18 times until he was unrecognizable, and they recovered as many as 43 shells at the scene. Just 2 months before his death, the FBI opened an investigation into the violence between Black Mob and No Limit. After an investigation into the murder, they determined that it was likely connected to the beef and the diss track Shooter Shells dropped just months before his death. No one was ever arrested, but it's been rumored that Mad Max was one of the men involved. Years after his death, a police report identified